This conference will now be recorded.
Oh, thank you everyone for showing up this morning, on taking some time from your busy days to be here with us. I just want to thank everyone. This is our 18th annual meeting. Hard to believe that we've been around this long. So just a little bit of housekeeping. If you could please keep your microphone muted unless you're speaking, obviously. And of course, everyone's going to forget to turn their microphone on when it comes their turn to talk. And you can submit questions in the chat box. We also wanted to acknowledge that we are on the territory of the Onondaga Nation, Council Fire of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. And we are thankful for their stewardship of the environment. Today's agenda. First, we'll have opening remarks by New York State Senator Rachel May. And then John will be presenting the Sustaining Our Community Awards for 2021. Greening USA will have a report to members, and we'll try to keep that brief. Excuse me, and then we will open it up to 10 different organizations to talk about the wonderful work that they do. But first, a note about the theme for this year's meeting, which is Stronger Together. And I know it's not a new idea, it's not an original idea, but it is a very time-tested, effective, and valuable idea. In 1970, we were stronger together on the very first Earth Day. And I love this sign. Science is actually useful. But look at all those people, shoulder to shoulder. Imagine if they hadn't continued to show up for the last 52 years. And, imagine if they had, if they had allowed their differences to keep them home. And I know in our community of advocates, we do have differences, but we need to put those aside and continue to show up. In spite of our impatience for progress, we have made progress, and we've done it together. So let's keep putting our differences aside and showing up. So for many of us, no introduction is required. And I could talk about her degrees from Princeton, Oxford, Stanford, and City ESF. And I could talk about her years as a college and university professor. And I could talk about, 15 years at Syracuse University as the first director of Environment and Society, and later as the coordinator of sustainability education. And I could talk about how she showed up to run for New York State Senate when we all recognize the peril that our democratic republic is facing. But what I really want to talk about is how she showed up in the early days of Greening USA, lending her expertise to create our fledgling concept of Sustainability Academy, which is our grassroots educational outreach effort. And then she continued to show up for our organization. She spoke at a green bag lunch. She participated in our annual meetings, and there she is, sitting there at one of our annual meetings as usual. And she's showing up again today to help us get started. Rachel has a very special place in the heart of this organization, and it's my great pleasure to introduce New York State Senator Rachel May.
Well, thank you, Diane, and it is wonderful to see everybody. I don't often get to speak to crowds of people where I feel like I really belong in the crowd, and this is pretty exciting for me. I was asked to talk about the first of the 12 traits, which is about government's role in sustainability. And there is way too much to say about that, but I thought I'd focus on a couple of things. So obviously government plays a role in making policy and creating budgets, that's an absolutely critical piece of it. In just information and the bully pulpit. So the government has a big voice in local and statewide and national discourse about things like sustainability. And so what part of our job in government is to make sure that we're not putting in place or keeping in place policies that impede sustainability, or putting out information that misleads people or that actually works against what we're doing. But I think the biggest way that government impedes sustainability is through the failure to work together, to work across agencies, for example, to have the kinds of holistic communication that really is needed, as you all know so well, for promoting sustainability. And this has been one of my frustrations in office, but also one of the tasks I've taken on in office, to really try to make sure that when we're doing a budget, we are looking not just at the bucket of money that we're talking about in, you know, whether it's transportation or healthcare or higher education, but we're thinking broadly, how is this going to affect the other parts of the budget? How is this going to affect workers and people generally in the state? How is this going to ripple through the whole picture that we're trying to manage in government? And so that's an uphill battle. I have a bill to create an Office of Sustainability in the state government so that all of the activities of the different agencies would be coordinated in some way. Somebody would be paying attention to who's, it would mostly be about state operations, but you know, making sure that our state goals are being applied to our actual state operations for climate or for waste reduction or for equity in various ways. I do want to say about the Earth Day picture you showed, Diane. Yes, we are stronger together, and that picture is wonderful as an indication of the huge movement that Earth Day kind of helped galvanize. But if you look at that picture, practically everybody there is white. Probably you don't see a lot of people with disabilities. You see people who look pretty affluent. And I think the big thing that we're trying to do in New York State government, especially when it comes to things like our climate law and implementing big policies like legalizing marijuana, is to be inclusive in a way that the first Earth Day probably wasn't. But we really, really believe that you can't have sustainability for a segment of the population. You can't have we just can't keep going the way we're going. That the piece of the three-legged stool that is about equity is absolutely critical and has been ignored for a very long time. So we have a lot of work that we're doing in our climate action plan within our government to make sure that we've had quite a few bills passed this year that were about you know, making sure that we're not citing renewable energy projects in ways that disadvantage communities of color, for example, or that we're not taking the many actions that need to be taken on the backs of people who have always been the ones who've shouldered the burden for energy production, for the way we burn energy, for the way we organize our transportation, for the way we organize housing and schools and everything else. And so it's hard to do all this at the same time, but it's really important work. And one of the exciting things about my job is that I serve in what is hands down the most diverse majority conference there's ever been in the New York State Senate, and the legislature in general, incredibly diverse with by race and gender and age and religion and ethnicity and almost any measure you can think of. So I do think we're trying. I think we are really trying to bring all the legs of the stool into play. But as you know from your advocacy for so many years, that this is hard to do. I did want to talk about a few other things that I'm working on, and then I hope that we can just do some Q&A. But one of the things that I have really been focused on in the last year is our fresh water, because I think it's very clear we're going to get a lot of climate migration to this part of the world and climate refugees coming to this part of the world because we have.
Sorry.
And that's okay. And we need to protect our freshwater systems. I'm very concerned about the cryptocurrency mining going on Seneca Lake. But more generally, I have a bill. One of the things that happened there on Seneca Lake and is happening elsewhere in the state is we have old dormant power plants that were located on our freshwater bodies because they are good for cooling. And those are potentially very low cost energy sources for extremely energy intensive industries like cryptocurrency mining to use. And we need to protect those water bodies and also the climate from those kinds of power plants coming back online for purposes that are not advancing any other goals that we might have as a state. And so I think, so I have a bill to make sure that there's a full environmental review anytime one of those comes online. And it came out of a meeting I had with DEC about the plant on Seneca Lake, where they explained to me that they were doing their air permitting now, and then the water permitting would be done in a year. And I said, like, it's all one thing. Can't you take a broader view of this project and look at the air and water impacts at the same time? And they're like, no, we can't do that. So I do feel like this is the kind of problem we have in government where obvious parts of the government aren't talking to each other, and the less obvious parts, like when we're talking about housing or paying care workers a living wage, all of these things feed into the same big picture. I do, so I have a number of bills about protecting our water supply. I also have a bill that I think you all might be interested in. It's Senate Bill 8725, which would require the state to do an annual report of expenditures related to our climate goals, because nobody knows what we're spending. Nobody knows where the spending is happening. And if we don't know, then we can't direct the funds to do what we want to do in that climate bill. So those are some examples of things that I'm trying to do to foster the sort of collaboration and holistic thinking that we aren't doing in state government. I will also just mention another bill that's very meaningful to me that I think is a piece of this whole puzzle. It's Senate Bill 7510, and it's the New York Local News Act. As we lose our good sources of local news, we also lose the ability as citizens to know what our government is doing and to marshal our resources to make the kinds of changes we want to make. And so we've had a little promising progress in Syracuse, but in general across the state, the local news is dying. And New Jersey has a great program of grants to promote projects that either train citizen journalists or that help with multilingual broadcasts or just all kinds of things to make local news more available to people around the state. And so I want to do that here in New York. And I think that that's also a big part of fostering sustainability in the state, because if we can't engage people, if we can't inform people, then we don't have the kind of power that we should have. So with that, I will stop. I don't have, you know, a lot of prepared remarks, but if you have questions, I'm happy to take them.
Does anyone have a question for Rachel? Andra says, yes, it's so important to have a full environmental review. Yes, absolutely. And Jessica says, it sounds like incredible programs for civic engagement. Does anyone have any questions or other remarks? Yes?
It's like Bob does.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank you, Rachel, obviously for your long-term support, but you hit target that we're going to do some shameless self-advertising here. Focus Greater Syracuse next Friday is doing our annual monthly website on local news, the concepts of local news. Thank you so much for mentioning that. Thank you for letting us know about New Jersey's program. Please all join in next Friday. Rachel, thank you again for so much broad coverage of the basics for sustainability. Thank you.
So let me respond to that, Bob, because one of the things I've learned in government, in this state government, is a way to get bills passed, a really important thing for moving bills to the point where people pay attention to them, is when organizations write letters of support. And if Focus take a look at, I'm putting it in the chat here, at my bill, and write a letter of support, that would just raise awareness among the various committee chairs and things who make decisions about what actually comes to the floor.
Yes, Chucky would be happy to hear you say that. Letters always help. Letters from organization. Chucky Holstein is an advocate of that methodology. It's wonderful. We'll do that.
Just making sure I have the right number. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there are other ones. Well, there's one I didn't talk about, but it's a zoning bill, and it's about making sure that we can have affordable housing, not just in the city, but in suburban areas and rural areas as well. And often the problem is zoning. And so trying to intervene in that area is another thing that I've been working on. So trying it, you know, coming at it from lots of different angles. Chris, did you have a question?
Thanks, Senator. One of the things that we're focused on in the clean energy space is the work of the Climate Action Council to define disadvantaged communities and meet the obligations of the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act to devote state resources towards serving those communities. I know from my work with NYSERDA and DEC that the agencies and authorities at the state level are very, very focused on this, but I'm wondering, from your perspective in the Senate, you know, how do legislators think about this? How much attention are they paying to this? Is this a big priority for you in the next year?
It is a big priority. I think, you know, I was at the table when we were drafting the bill in the first place, and everybody was saying, this can't drop off. This can't just be an add-on. This has got to be a concern that's at, you know, at every table, in every conversation. And I do think that that is the case. It's also hard. I mean, some of the easier ways to incentivize, say, buying electric vehicles or installing heat pumps or whatever it is, they are tax credits, and tax credits very hard to target those at people who maybe don't pay taxes or who have, don't have the money to put up front in the first place. And so figuring out new ways to incentivize this kind of, these kind of actions is critical and really hard. I do think, if you prioritize what you're doing, if you're thinking about, energy efficiency and weatherizing and those kinds of things, those are some of the sorts of actions that can lift people up rather than just, helping the affluent. So I do think that kind of issue has been at the forefront. I also know, I know that waste has become a big focus for the Climate Action Council. I heard a talk by Professor Howarth, and he was saying, when we started, this was kind of at the bottom of the priority list, and by the time we ran all the numbers and looked at the real impacts, we discovered that waste was like one of the #1 issues here. And that's one, I think, where if you can tackle it right, that also can really help people all across the state, and whatever their circumstances. So I see Lindsay's question about refundable tax credits. Yeah, I mean, that's obviously the thing you want, but it costs a huge amount of money to do that. And so you have to have the will to put the money in the budget in the first place. I'm hopeful that that will be a focus of some of the money in the Bond Act that we're trying to pass. And it certainly was on the table for a while for certain aspects of implementation of the climate action plan in the budget this year, but I don't know how much of it stayed in the final budget. That's the kind of thing we need accounting for.
So I see there's a couple of other, Don Hughes wanted to hear about, oh boy, the client. Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't schedule a lot of time for Q&A. There's some really good questions that could carry us through the next hour for sure.
Yeah.
And at this point,
I do have to go actually, but happy to talk about any of these if you want to just set up a meeting.
I think it would be great if we could do a green bag lunch and we could just continue this conversation on government leadership. That would be awesome.
Okay.
Yes, that's what Jeff says. Maybe we could have Rachel back for a green bag lunch. See, great minds.
Reach out to my office. I will say, we are in session until June, and it's kind of hard to find the time. But over the summer, it would be easier.
Yeah,
I do
that would be.
But I have a wonderful conference, and thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you, Rachel, for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And one of the comments that Rachel made just briefly struck me when I'm looking at this picture of our annual meeting. And it's a sea of white faces. So I think the social equity issue is the piece that is really getting neglected in favor of dealing with climate change. So we need to keep that in mind, that we all need to move together, all of us. So John, are you ready to present Sustaining Our Community Awards?
Thanks, Diane. I guess I'm as ready as I am going to be. Hopefully my voice will hold up for approximately 30 minutes that will take us to go through 6 awards today. Since beginning the Sustaining Our Community Awards program in 2006, Greening USA has recognized more than 75 people, projects, programs or events that contribute to our community's sustainability. This year, we recognize 6 additional individuals or projects whose efforts in 2021 not only reflect the principles embodied in Greening USA's 12 traits of a sustainable community, but in our opinion, make the community grow, flourish, prosper, or progress. In a word, to thrive. But it's important to thrive in a way that is respectful of the community's need for a healthy and safe environment, a robust economy, an opportunity for all to share equitably in these objectives, not only today, but for generations to come. We believe these awardees, this year's awardees, do just that. The first awardee is the Allyn Foundation for its work to create the Salt City Market, small but powerful economic engine in the 400 block of Salina Street. That offers an opportunity for startup vendors and with diverse cultural backgrounds. Efforts to create this project began in 2018 when the Allyn Family Foundation, through the Syracuse Urban Partnership, began assembling the team, including VIP architects and 2 other firms in support, iCrave and Snow Kralich. The objective was to design a building that would fit a unique urban setting, that would work well for small businesses. It would be a place where people of all walks of life would want to gather. A series of focus groups and community gatherings were used to ensure the Syracuse community would feel connected and invested in this project. In the fall of 2019, construction began and continued through the pandemic. The project was $22 million as a 4-story building. It opened in January 2021 in that highly visible location across from the Marriott, the Syracuse Downtown Hotel, or Hotel Syracuse as we know it, on the vacant lot, which Syracuse.com once characterized as a spot for drug dealing and other problems. The project has transformed this corner. It has a mix of vendors, and including the second location for the Syracuse Cooperative Market. The project created an exciting, vibrant space, addressed food desert concerns, and serves as an economic engine for small businesses. And in addition, the Salt City Market established green practices for vendors, including separating food waste for composting, donating food past its best-by date to food pantries, offering reusable plates and silverware, though by special request. So be sure to ask for them when you order. And they also offer a reusable takeout container program available for just $8. So congratulations to the Allyn Foundation and the entire team. I'm going to, Martine Jacobs of the Allyn Foundation is here to accept the award. Martine serves as the point on this project. He has ushered it through from concept to completion over the past several years and is now responsible for its operation. Just a note of housekeeping, I will allow the recipients an opportunity to speak. We need to keep it brief so we can get through this in good fashion this morning. So Martine, if you want to say something, I noticed that you're in the audience. So thanks for being with us today.
Sure, I'll be very brief. Martin Jacobs of the Allyn Foundation. Thank you so much for receiving this award and for thinking of us. And really, all I'll say is thank you that so many of you, I recognize your faces from inside the market, right? So the fact that this can only be successful if people actually come here and frequent the vendors. And it's been amazing to see that Syracuse has really turned out and has really supported all of our great food vendors and the co-op in the space. So I think it's just a celebration of, I think, the good things to come for Syracuse. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Martin. And it's convenient to get to. A parking area off of Clinton Street makes it easy to get to that building. To use the co-op grocery store and take out food from those vendors or stay in. It's a beautiful facility, and thanks for doing that project for our city. Mary Nelson, our next awardee, is a CEO and president of the Youth Center, which bears her name, is our next honoree. Greening USA's 12 traits assert that no community can reach sustainable status through government action alone. Civic, business, social, and religious organization all help to make a community stronger through joint action, mutual support, personal development, and enrichment. Education is key, though, and is the subject of trait number 10, which recognizes that future generations must be equipped with tools and knowledge required to function successfully in society. Quality education to all children must be a high priority in the sustainable community. The Youth Center opened in 2009 and serves nearly 30 kids. The center offers, and I'd be surprised, I wouldn't be surprised to hear that there are more kids there now. The center offers activities for youth focusing on education, leadership, life skills, and building careers. It offers children meals before and after school and has computers for homework. Nelson has also sponsors a school supply giveaway, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. In July 2021, the Youth Center was selected to receive $75,000 Lowe's 100 Hometowns grant from more than 20. There were 2,200 nominations in 36 states, and one of those went here to the Mary Nelson Youth Center. But not to be outdone, the Boeheim Foundation donated $75,000 as well for a total $150,000 project to fund much needed improvements and expansion. Lowe's officials said the center was selected in part because its grassroots community-run youth center empowers kids and families, but also plays a pivotal role in helping seniors and families get medication and health services they cannot afford. The renovations to the community center were completed in 2021 and included expansion and improvements to the kitchen, to the flooring, to the computer room and the play area to accommodate additional children. For her work supporting the education of children and enriching the lives of people, Mary Nelson is a Sustaining Our Community honoree. Congratulations, Mary, and thank you for your service to our community. I'm not sure, I think I saw Mary's name on the list, but I'm having a hard time following everybody here. Mary, are you here? And can you unmute yourself and say hello?
I don't see her name on the list, Jared.
Okay, so that's too bad she couldn't be here today, but we will be sure to, and we have already sent her our congratulations, and maybe we can get Mary to talk to us at a green bag lunch at some point and tell us a little bit more about her project. Our next honoree is reflective of something that Rachel mentioned, and that is the Syracuse Journalism Lab. Before I tell you about the project, I want to acknowledge the local journalism that has informed Greening USA in this presentation today. It's the local professional journalism that informs of the community initiatives that we are hearing about. To prepare my presentation today, I have relied upon news stories from organizations such as Syracuse.com, the newhouse.com, mysouthsidestand.com, WAER, and Urban CNY, and including reporting by journalists Elizabeth Doran, Don Cacentre, Katrina Tulik, Gianna Prudent, Scott Willis, Tim Knaus, Rick Moriarty. Thank you, all of you, for keeping us informed. Okay, so as everyone must admit, democracy is facing immense challenges, and its key supports freedom of speech and the press are challenged in so many ways. As Rachel mentioned, a sustainable community requires that citizens be effectively engaged in the affairs of their government. And for democracy to be strong, citizens must be engaged. And for citizens to be engaged, they need to be able to differentiate between truth and lies and have access to real, truthful news about one's community and local government. And this requires a free professional press able to report and distribute real news. The Syracuse Journalism Lab has been selected because it is helping to do just that. Launched in September 2021, the Syracuse Journalism Lab prepares young people for careers in journalism and media. The lab's first class graduated this past February at the Salt City Market. There is a community center at and a beautiful space at the Salt City Market available for the community to use. And the class was taught journalism and media criticism. The program's long-term goal is to expand diversity to those who work in local newsrooms by increasing the pool of talented journalists from Syracuse to hire in the future. The Journalism Lab is a collaborative effort by the Syracuse Press Club, the Stand newspaper, and the Syracuse City School District. The lab was funded by a grant from the John Ben Snow Foundation. The Stand serves as the lab's fiscal sponsor and advanced media.
We're watching the clouds kind of setting up for today. If you're not seeing showers, you're going to easily be into the 60s, but I think our southern tier viewers are going to have 50s for today and tomorrow. The sunshine comes out for everyone.
I think, thank you for moving your microphone. The lab was, as I mentioned, was funded by the Ben Snow Foundation. Advanced Media serves as fiscal sponsor for and as corporate sponsor. I guess it's the Stand that's the fiscal sponsor of the organization, and Advanced Media is a corporate sponsor. So here to accept the award on behalf of the Syracuse Journalism Lab is, I believe, Ashley King is here of the Stand to do that. Ashley, are you here? Can you unmute and take a minute?
I'm here. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. Yeah, the lab launched last school year, but I've started working with the Syracuse Press Club, who created a committee that wanted to look at a way to really expand and support minority students and marginalized students to expand and go into journalism. And they partnered with the Syracuse Media Program at ITC that has been led by Jeffrey Newell, their teacher, who's really worked to create a mentorship program or to create opportunities to have professionals to come into their program and work with the students. So this really solidified that option and brought in more support for the students and to look at what ideas the students had. So I was really excited to get involved, to be able to have the student voice and their perspectives included in local media. So if you look at the next print issue of The Stand, we'll have one of the students' pieces featured. And it's not just a written or photography of journalism. She created a comic. And so she wasn't sure if she was doing journalism. And when we met to kind of go over what she wanted to do, she looked at trans students in high school and non-binary students and wanted to explore what challenges they face. And to do that, she interviewed another student that was transitioning. So she was using reporting skills and then created a comic that talked about those challenges, talked about having students use the right pronouns or having teachers acknowledge that. So I think that work was incorporated into other projects that we've done at the Stand and Newhouse. And then students worked with other mentors. So thank you so much. We're continuing the project next year as well.
Oh, well, thank you, and Ashley, thanks for the service to our community. It sounds like a wonderful project. I'm looking forward for some great things in the future. Our next award, honoree, today. I must have got something out of order. Okay, I will go with it. Deka Dancil is the president of the Urban Jobs Task Force. There is so much I could tell you about Deka Dancil, but unfortunately time won't permit everything. Her nominator pointed out key initiatives which Deka has headed up and said this. She is the heart and soul of the Urban Jobs Task Force, and her intelligence, energy, and unrelenting commitment to the mission of the organization is what has produced the results. Allow me to tell you just some of those achievements. First, fighting for economic equity on the I-81 project. Deka has an essential voice. It is an essential voice for the community. She asked Mayor Walsh to call a big table to create equity for the I-81 project so that city residents and minority contractors would benefit from the $2.2 billion project. The city residents and for city residents and disadvantaged persons, these talks created a local hire goal, which the DOT says will be inserted in the I-81 request for proposals. Obtaining a 501c3 charitable status has also been a significant achievement for the Urban Jobs Task Force because the previous status made funding next to impossible. Deka led an effort which culminated last December with the organization becoming the 501c3, which soon resulted in a $10,000 grant from the Community Foundation and a $200,000 grant from the city of Syracuse. Deka has also led the effort to negotiate community benefits policy with the Syracuse Industrial Development Agency. SIDA is now in the process of redoing its policy relating to affordable rents and construction jobs for city residents. Overall, Deka has been a champion of community engagement, and during her service as the Urban Jobs Task Force president, Deka has been a passionate and fearless voice for racial equity and economic inclusion. We can now add the title of sustaining our community honoree. So Deka, thanks for your service. I'm not sure I saw Deka on the list here this morning. Deka, if you're here, please unmute and please say hello.
I see her name on the list.
Good morning, everybody. Excuse my voice, I'm a bit under the weather here in my household. I just want to say thanks so much for this and for the work of Greening USA. I'm not sure who nominated me, but I really just appreciate that. It was just very kind. And I just also want to say that all those achievements really belong to the community. I'm just here supporting. So I'll also just end by saying there's a lot still more to be done if we're going to be able to achieve the local hire on 81. Again, it's going to be thousands of jobs, good paying jobs. We know people here need access to them. So I just appreciate, because I feel like I recognize most people on this call. So I also just want to acknowledge your support and say I appreciate it. And we're going to continue to need it and continue to need to work together as a community. And if we, Urban Jobs Task Force, can help you with anything you have going on, just let us know. So thanks, everyone.
Well, thank you, and thanks for your leadership in this effort. It's so important. Diane, which one are we doing next? I think I have 2 awards left to talk about.
You have 2?
So I have 2. And maybe we don't have a slide for the last one, but maybe that would be fine. But we're going to talk right now about the Whitlock building. not our final awardee, but maybe we had a production glitch in terms of slides, but that's okay. There's nothing perfect in this world. This honoree is for this project is Tom Goodfellow, whose vision and concern for the dramatic efforts of climate change motivated him to put his money where his mouth is and renovate the Whitlock building. In doing so, Tom has launched the Syracuse area into the era of the all-electric building. The Whitlock building is Syracuse's first mixed-use all-electric building. It will not be the last, according to Tom. In this project, we have a trifecta in terms of our sustainability traits. Trait number 7 suggests that communities take steps to rapidly replace energy generated from fossil fuels with renewable, non-polluting alternatives. Using air source heat pumps instead of natural gas for heating is a step in that direction, as New York State electric energy portfolio contains substantial renewable resources and is only to get greater. Trait number 6 suggests repurposing and reusing existing buildings contributes to sustainability. Not only are cultural artifacts reused, but they remain to remind the community of its history and heritage, which trait number 9 encourages. So this project revitalized a long-term vacant property in a critical downtown location on Salina Street. It has transformed the discarded and former Goldberg's furniture store into a community asset. And in the same block, incidentally, as the new Salt City Market. It includes 26 apartments, 24,000 square feet of commercial space, and not a single fossil fuel hookup. Air source heat pumps provide state-of-the-art heating and cooling. Helping out are the triple pane windows, which with closed cell foam, and the R40 and R50 roof insulation. Other features include an LG energy recovery ventilator to provide conditioned fresh air, efficient electric hot water, electric stoves, and LED lights. The Whitlock building apartments are rented below market price, and residents report tremendous utility savings. The average electricity bill is $30 per month among the current tenants. To help moderate costs and energy use, each apartment is equipped with a Sense energy monitor that allows the occupant to monitor energy consumption. The planned 50 kilowatt solar system on the roof will provide additional electricity to the building, further reducing tenant electricity bills. So for blazing a trail to a new energy paradigm in Syracuse, Greening USA is pleased to include Tom Goodfellow as a Sustaining Our Community honoree. Tom, are you here? I'm not sure. I thought I saw your name.
I don't see his name in the list.
Okay, I know Tom is Tom's nominator was with us, so I want to say just say the thanks for submitting the nomination, and I remind everybody.
Sorry.
So please keep your mics muted so we can get through this. I just will remind everybody at this point, nominations are really open all year long. So if you know somebody that's doing something good, write up a paragraph and let us know, and we'll
I'm going to check back, John, to see if. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I think you did fly by this one. So we do have a slide, and this is to recognize the Syracuse Cooperative Market, aka Syracuse Real Food Co-op, with the slogan "Real Food since 1972." This nominee exemplifies Greening USA's trait number 2, local economic resilience, and has been doing so for 50 years. I suppose it's about time that Greening USA recognize this organization, and maybe fitting that we left them to the end and even tried to skip over them earlier today. Founded by an energetic group of activists in the 1970s, the Syracuse Cooperative Market has been the Westcott University neighborhood's only grocery store for over 50 years. The co-op's founders envisioned a cooperatively owned community market. They wanted access to food that was locally produced and high quality. They wanted to support local growers and producers. They wanted to contribute to a justice-based society. They wanted access to capital. They wanted to transform society and live well. The Syracuse Cooperative Market is a community-owned grocery store focusing on local and organic produce, craft beer, bulk foods, and grab-and-go deli. The closest grocery store to University Hill, the co-op is driven by owner participation and committed to community service. 1 year ago, as I mentioned earlier, talking about the Salt City Market, downtown Syracuse welcomed its first full-service grocery store when the Cooperative Market second location opened in the Salt City Market on Salina Street. The co-op website boasts, "We care about our community. We're a collection of over 4,800 invested member owners, plus non-members, shoppers who support local farmers, producers, invest in eco-friendly, healthy products, and contribute to community health and wellness." Probably full disclosure, I should say, I have been a member for a long time, also helped fund by loaning money to the effort to create the new store. And I'm proud to say that for 50 years of supporting the principles of sustainability, Greening USA is proud to recognize the Syracuse Cooperative Market as a 2021 Sustaining Our Community honoree. I don't know if the general manager, Jeremy, is here with us today. I didn't see his name, but I hope if somebody's here from the co-op, please feel free to unmute and say hello. I suppose that's not going to happen. So just that's the end of my presentation for awards. Congratulations to all our honorees. And as I mentioned, let us know of nominees for next year. We look forward to hearing from you, and congratulations, everyone.
Thanks, John, for a great job. As usual, really deserving awards. And this is a great community. There are so many that we could honor with awards, and it's a privilege to live here. So, Greening USA's report to members. We are a 501c3 educational nonprofit, and we were founded in 2004. And our mission is to advocate for sustainable communities to the benefit of local economies and environments. Our goals are to educate government leadership and the grassroots. And we like another major goal, which is we are trying to achieve today, is to create synergies with like-minded organizations. Our two major outreach efforts are the 12 Traits of Sustainable Communities, and that is wisdom that we have collected from across the country from communities who have policies that are helping to move their communities forward. And that 12 Traits helps to inform local governments about what a sustainable community looks like. So that's a top-down educational outreach effort. Our grassroots educational effort is Sustainability Academy, which I mentioned earlier when Rachel showed up at our early organizing meetings and helped us coagulate ideas about how to do grassroots education. I also want to thank our current board members, John Przepiora, Vice President, Awards Chair, and founding member, going all the way back to 2003 when we started our organizing meetings. Peter Arsenault, 12 Traits Manager and another founding member. Jeffrey Anthony, who is our secretary and our membership chair. Chris Striley, who is our treasurer, and I always say that's the hardest job in any organization. And Scott Kushner, who has taken over our educational outreach efforts with Sustainability Academy. And speaking of Scott Kushner, Scott just recently led the effort to collaborate again this year with the Rosamond Gifford Zoo for Party for the Planet. And we were out there and it was a little chilly, but Scott managed to round up some local organizations and we tabled and we provided activities and little learning experiences for children and their parents. And there's our board member, Jeff, talking to a gaggle of Girl Scouts. But thank you to the organizations who tabled and provided a really quality event for zoo attendees. We try to do monthly virtual green bag lunches, and this past year we had a couple on the I-81 project, hot topic of last year. We also did a green bag lunch on rape cases. And then we had a candidate forum. In that one, we partnered with Focus Greater Syracuse and CNY Solidarity. And we asked the mayoral candidates one question: how do you create a sustainable community? It was very well attended. It was a great conversation. We had another green bag lunch in November, and that one was in person and virtual at the same time at the Liverpool Library. And we were talking about Blueprint 15 and the Syracuse Housing Authority projects. And then in the spring, we did state of building electrification, another really hot topic here about moving, keeping our promises on the CLCPA and moving toward electrifying buildings and getting off of fossil fuel. And the last one was the sustainable material management, which is, again, a huge issue about managing materials, and it's way more than recycling. It's also end of, producer responsibility. Really complicated topic. And then during the last year, we had way too many requests to sign on and to letters and petitions, and we were happy to do it. They were all really important issues that we were helping to support from this long list of like-minded organizations that are all doing a great job to move our advocacy efforts forward. We were also, once again this year, proud sponsors of the New York State Green Building Conference, and specifically student sponsors, because students are probably our most important audience. We continue to do what we do with communications. We have a YouTube channel, and this session is, like all of our virtual sessions, is being recorded, and it will be uploaded to our YouTube channel in the next few days. So if you know of someone who wanted to attend and was unable to be here, by all means, let them know. We are also, please follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Our newsletter continues on. If you do not receive our newsletter, please sign up on our website. It is primarily a listing of events of like-minded organizations all over upstate New York. It's free, no obligation. We don't share our mailing list. And yes, our website is there for you to get to know us a little better. And then there's membership. So the volunteers of Greening USA don't receive a penny for what we do. The membership money goes 100% to supporting our efforts and our small operational costs. We urge you to join a committee, and if you're interested in getting to know us better, our board meetings are open. So please send us an email and ask to be added to our next board meeting. Get to know us better, and we welcome people just as advisors to jump in and on any specific topic. So now we'll get down to the heart of the meeting, and we invited organizations to talk about their primary mission and activities, and also, let us know, how can we help? How can we work together to help achieve your goals? So the first organization that signed up, Jessica jumped all over this. Jessica, unmute yourself and tell us about Focus Greater Syracuse.
Hello, yes, thank you so much, Diane, and thank you for this awesome opportunity for different organizations to collaborate and kind of help each other out. And also, this has been such an informative and great event so far, so thank you so much to you and Greening USA for putting this on. So I will start. Hi guys, my name is Jessica Lisi. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications for Focus Greater Syracuse. And FOCUS stands for Forging Our Community's United Strength. Our mission is, FOCUS is a citizen-driven organization that taps citizen creativity to bring about change in Central New York by enabling citizens, organizations, and government to work together to enhance the quality of our lives and our economic future. What we like to say is FOCUS facilitates, educates, and celebrates citizen engagement. Next slide. So for over 20 years, FOCUS has successfully connected everyday citizens with local governments, organizations, and businesses to bring about positive change in our community and inspire civic engagement. The heart of what FOCUS does is inspiring people in the community all over the greater Syracuse area to be educated and involved. And we have been around since about 1998 and have successfully done this in a plethora of ways that I'll get to in a second. Next slide. So a core tenet of our mission is to inform and engage citizens on local issues. We are nonpartisan, so through our nonpartisan programs and research initiatives, we facilitate public conversation to bring the citizen's voice to local decision making. One of the most important things we need for government decision making and policy development is that local voice. So through our efforts, we have contributed to decisions regarding the use of Onondaga Lake, efforts towards a more age-friendly Onondaga County, and encouraging a patient-centered healthcare program, just to name a few. This is part of our kind of research pillar. Next slide, please. So like I said at the beginning, FOCUS facilitates, educates, and celebrates. Through our different programs and projects, we facilitate through our Citizens Academy program. Citizens Academy is a 10-week interactive educational program that informs citizens about how local governments are organized and how services are funded and delivered. This is one of the main programs FOCUS facilitates, and the reason we say this is the facilitation aspect of our organization is that this allows a facilitation of dialogue between interested local citizens and government officials. So each week we have a different theme. Transportation and sustainability is one of them. Another one would be education. We have a whole session on wastewater treatment, which I promise is incredibly interesting. Is usually like everyone's favorite. But in those sessions, we get a panel of experts, the people who are doing the work on the ground, making the difference. We've had the Commissioner of Neighborhood and Business Development. We've had the Deputy Mayor. We've had the Commissioner of the Health Department. We had Superintendent Jaime Alicia, President Casey Craybill of OCC, just a plethora of strong names, people who are really passionate about what they do and make a difference. And each week, you know, they come in the panel with the theme. They present to our participants what they do, and then the rest of the time is a Q&A, and it's a dialogue, and it's people walk away from this program feeling more informed about our community, but also they're excited. They are emboldened to make a difference because they know how hard people work to make Syracuse and Onondaga County a better place to live. The next one is educate. And thank you, Bob, for bringing this up for our focus forums, because for our educate kind of pillar, we have our monthly focus forums, which are free public events that bring together experts to discuss a certain topic or initiative in the community, and also provide citizens opportunities to ask questions. This is usually only about a 1 hour thing we do once per month. So a little less intensive than Citizens Academy, and it is open to anyone. As Diane had mentioned, we partnered with Greening USA on the mayoral candidate forum. And this next Friday, as Bob mentioned, we have our forum, The Changing Landscape of Local Media. So we will have, and I will actually post again in the chat right now, the website, you know, our website you can go to specifically on that forum, and you'll just have to sign up. And basically we are having, we're basically discussing the state of local media in our community. We have Mitch Gelman of WCNY, Ken Jackson of Urban CNY, Professor Joe Kaplan of Syracuse University, and Julie McMahon of Central Current. These are our panelists, and we encourage people to sign up and submit questions. Finally, you know, as we're getting to the last two, Celebrate is our Wisdom Keeper event. This is our annual fundraiser that we honoring citizen trustees that celebrate the many achievements that show leadership, continual caring, and the understanding of the importance of a vision for tomorrow. So this is our, like I said, our fundraiser, and we award for 2 wisdom keepers who have really shown a dedication to citizen engagement, or promoting citizen engagement and community engagement in you know, CNY. This past year we had actually 3. We had Linda Brown Robinson, Van Robinson, and America Trier. This is our yearly event, so stay tuned for this year because we're starting to develop that, and it's just a great event that really celebrates, you know, citizen engagement in all its forms. And finally, research focus and engages in citizen-centered research so that we can bring the citizen voice to those decision-making processes and initiatives. So we engage in that, and we publish reports and recommendations based on those findings, many of which are used by local government and organizations. So you can check those out on our website as well. Next slide, please. So to finish this up, please visit us at www.focussyracuse.org. The link I put in will also bring you there, though it is specifically focused on our forum next week, May 13th at noon. But yeah, head to our website, sign up for our emailing list. That is where we will post our monthly forums. That's where we will post when Citizens Academy applications are open. And of course, that's where we will post about Wisdom Keeper. So we encourage you to sign up and stay informed with our emailing list. We also have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all the big social media. So feel free to sign up, head to any of those as well. Yeah, you can also check out the research initiatives there. So thank you all again. Thank you, Diane and Greening USA for this great opportunity.
Thanks, Jessica. And I have to say, I'm an ancient graduate of Citizens Academy, and you're absolutely right. The wastewater treatment plant is really interesting.
Nobody expects it going in, and then they're like, wow, this was my favorite one. Who knew? And that's
it was. It was really interesting. Next up, we have Barry Carr, Clean Communities of CNY. Barry?
Thank you, Diane. And by the way, congratulations on your moving forward in the next phase of your life. It was good to hear that over the weekend. I'm Barry Carr. I'm the Executive Director of Clean Communities of Central New York, and we are a volunteer organization that is funded by the U.S. Department of Energy. We are one of 6 coalitions in New York State and one of 78 coalitions nationwide. Our mission is to develop and direct and present education and outreach on the use of alternative fuels in transportation. So over the years, the Clean Cities program is now 29 years old. Our organization is 25 years old. And over the years, we've gone from biodiesel to natural gas to ethanol to methanol to renewable natural gas, renewable propane, renewable diesel. And now the focus is very much on electric transportation, either through battery electric vehicles or through fuel cell powered, hydrogen fuel cell powered vehicles. So we are available. That is my contact information. We are working on outreach for the Biden administration's infrastructure plan, which is about $2 trillion to pay for all the necessary infrastructure as we electrify our fleets. We work with National Grid. I see someone from National Grid on here. We also work with NYSEG in our service territory. We work closely with NYSERDA on Clean Transportation Prize programs, and we're working now internally with the other 5 coalitions in New York State to consolidate, and I'm hoping within a year we'll have two organizations, one upstate and one downstate. So again, thank you very much for your support. We're always looking for volunteers, and that's my contact information. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Barry, and it was great to see you at the Drive Electric event last weekend. It was really good to see a parking lot full of electric vehicles and people talking about buying electric vehicles. Next up, we have Greg Michael, who is actually a long ago and far away former board member of Greening USA, and he is actually the person who created Sustainability Academy, and he kind of borrowed Focus's Citizens Academy and created Sustainability Academy. So Greg, if you would like to unmute.
All right, hello everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, good morning. So my name is Greg Michael. I'm the Executive Director at Onondaga Earth Corps, and I'm proud to be here with all of you, and thank you for this wonderful forum. We at Onondaga Earth Corps, our mission is to empower youth and young adults through conservation work. So we have been around, I was just doing the math, we're in our 18th year. We have provided job readiness training and jobs to over 400 youth. We've planted almost, not all, but most of the young trees that you see in the city have been planted by young people that live and work here through our program, and learn about getting connected with wonderful organizations. We have partnerships with many of you here on the call. But you know, getting out in the community and being a positive influence is not always what you hear about young people in Syracuse, but our mission is to flip that script and have young people creating sustainable, livable communities. The young people in our program are always at the front of our work and have led the outreach work for the city's Urban Forest Master Plan project. The city's looking to increase canopy over 7% over the next 20 years, which means about close to 3,000 new trees a year, and the youth in our program will be doing a lot of that work. We've also been instrumental in having local hire on projects like the Creek Walk, If you have not been on the Onondaga Creek Walk, I encourage you to get out this weekend. Take your mother on Mother's Day for a walk along the creek walk. But many of the trees along that new gem of infrastructure in the city also planted by young people in our program. And we are in the process of implementing some of the visioning work that started with Focus and with OEI, Onondaga Environmental Institute, when they did creek walk revitalization, outreach, and research, decades ago, it seems. But youth from the community are working on implementing that. You'll see a lot of changes with invasive species removal and new plantings of native trees and shrubs along the creek walk. So we employ youth 15 to 25, so it's a pretty broad age range for youth. They come on and they work as well as engage in personal development work so they can figure out what the steps are beyond our program. We are always looking to partner. So if you have ideas about how young people can be involved with the community work that you do, give us a call. That's one way to connect with us. We've worked with parks associations, community, neighborhood groups on beautification, plantings, and the like. Other ways you can get involved with us, you can go to our website and attend our big fundraising and community building event, which is going to be October 29th. It's called Earth Core Encore. And then we're always looking for volunteers to work with us on committees that our board has. We have a volunteer committee. And we also have hands-on projects. If you're looking to plant some trees for Mother's Day weekend, you could come out out to Kirk Park tomorrow to be a part of Love My Park Day and plant some trees at Kirk Park. All of that information is available at our website, which is www.onondagaearthcore.org, and it's, make sure you put an S on the core. And we are also looking for board members and community support as we look at new infrastructure. We've been housed at the SUNY EOC building for a long time, and we're looking for a permanent home as the building we're in is going through some changes. So if you've got some skills with figuring out development for small not-for-profits, give us a jingle as well. So it's great to be here with everyone, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, Greg, and thanks for making Syracuse literally greener. I love watching the studies come down that show that trees actually reduce the temperature in neighborhoods. Next up, we have Andra, who's constantly sending me things to sign on to. So thank you for that. Andra, would you like to unmute?
Yes, no problem. Thank you so much, Diane, and everyone at Greening USA and the whole community here. We know so many of you, and we've worked together on projects with many of you. Alliance for a Green Economy is an organization based here in Syracuse, working to bring about a transition to renewable energy in all sectors, including electric generation, heating our buildings, and transportation. This year is AGREE's 10th anniversary year, and we invite you to stay in touch with us throughout the year as we have some special events to celebrate. And we're happy to announce that we're thriving and growing. We're going to be hiring 2 new staff members this year. Today, I wanted to focus and highlight our Renewable Heat Now campaign, where AGREE works with 17 other organizations across New York State and has involved 217 allied organizations, including Greening USA, to address electrification in the building sector. Since fall, we've been focusing on the role of government in the transition to renewable energy, and we have been working to put forward and explain a package of bills that do that, that help us move toward building electrification. So why electrify buildings? Well, there are many good reasons. One is the climate. Buildings are New York's largest source of emissions, 32%. In case you were wondering, transportation is the second largest source of emissions at 28%. Another reason is health. New York leads the nation in premature deaths that are caused by burning fossil fuels indoors. Another reason, affordability. For new construction, building all electric with energy efficiency measures in place costs no more or can cost even less than building with fossil fuel infrastructure for heating. And I wanted to highlight that at the Whitlock building, the apartments, someone mentioned that they pay an average monthly electric bill of $30. That's all their utilities. That's like heating, cooling, cooking, and electric. So the operation costs in a well-insulated, well-designed, new all-electric building can be very affordable. And jobs are another great reason to electrify buildings. The Just Transition Working Group of the Climate Action Council found that total green jobs could increase by over 200,000 in New York State by 2030. That's a wonderful amount of jobs, and we need to make sure that they get spread across to areas that really need the work and where this could improve people's employment outlooks and our community economics. So this year, AGREE has initiated sign-on letters, rallies, press conferences, Twitter actions to forward a bill package. If you go to renewableheatnow.org, you will be able to find that bill package. I won't go through the numbers and the Senate and Assembly numbers and all of the information there, but I do encourage you to go to renewableheatnow.org and look up that package. It's very easy to find when you get there. These bills, the Climate Action Council has said, are the type of legislation that is crucial to help New York meet its climate goals by 2030. So in this final month of the legislative session, AGREE, as always, is inviting you to take action with us. We are going to be having a statewide email campaign for people to email their legislators and express support for these measures. It's important to express support even to legislators who are champions of clean energy, like our Senator Rachel May is, because they need to be able to counter the opposition, who is very well organized and funded and is rolling out a campaign to stop this sort of legislation from being enacted. So we are going to be gathering all these support letters that will be emailed to legislators. We're going to be testifying at the all-electric building assembly hearing on May 12th. And on May 19th, look forward to a day of action here in Syracuse. We're planning it right now, where it's going to be a wonderful event, and we'll be letting you know about it. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thanks, Andra, for all the great work that you do. Next up, we have Scott Kushner, and he is working with CNY Digital Inclusion Coalition. The pandemic revealed our serious lack of digital access when students were suddenly at home and having to learn at home. So, Scott, would you like to unmute and tell us about this?
Yes, thank you. I put our website in the chat in case people want more information. Interestingly enough, it sort of came full circle. The last live breakfast annual meeting that we had, Greening USA had, where we were in person and broke bread together. At the end of that session, I mentioned that we were forming this coalition. So, it actually began pre-pandemic. And I'm so glad to hear when a lot of people have talked about the word equity kept coming up in various presentations here, and that's what a huge part of sustainability is about. So we decided to form this coalition. We knew that there was a need in the community to level the playing field in the digital world. And then, as Diane mentioned, the pandemic has brought this into stark relief, the need for it in all kinds of areas: education, jobs, government. I mean, healthcare. So we decided, my co-chair is Annabeth Hayes, who's the director at the Tully Free Library. And we're a coalition of a whole bunch of different community-based organizations. And the beauty of the coalition is that these are all organizations that are dealing with different populations in the community. And they're a trusted entity in those communities. So that the boots on the ground work is sort of already in motion. So what we're doing is our primary goal is to provide a different three-legged stool, which is digital access to the internet, affordable and reasonable access. And I say reasonable, that it's enough bandwidth to be able to work with it. And the second thing is to help people get devices so they can use those devices. And the third thing is digital literacy, which is to teach people how to use the devices to access the internet. As you can see, there's just so many ways that people that's unfair, so that people can't have access. You have to pay to play, and like so many other things, it's just not fair. So we're on a grant right now to build the coalition. We've hired a coordinator, and we're working with Interfaith Works is one of the organizations who was involved in our coalition, and they were able to carry the grant for us because we're not a tax entity. We're not a 501c3. So we're working on that right now. An ultimate goal is to have put together a digital navigator program, which we're also working on that, which ultimately will be, we'll have people going out into the community one-on-one, helping people to get those three things that I just mentioned. So that's where we're at right now. It's one of the parts of sustainability that needs to be addressed. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Really, really, every day it becomes ever more important for digital access for everyone. So thanks for what you're doing.
Well, here we are.
And here we are online.
Yes. Thank you.
Next up, we have Sally Santangelo, the Executive Director of CNY Fair Housing. Sally, would you like to unmute?
Yes, good morning, and thank you, Diane, and thank you, everyone, for the opportunity to present to you today. So CNY Fair Housing, we are a small-ish nonprofit. We have a staff of 12, and we are located here in Syracuse, but we right now are serving 17 counties of central and upstate New York. Most of our work is done in Onondaga County and the surrounding counties. We do get quite a few calls and complaints from the North Country as well. And we work to investigate complaints of housing discrimination and provide information to individuals about their housing rights. As part of our investigations, we conduct undercover testing. So we investigate and we do testing based on, testing is like secret shoppers, where we send people out to try to identify what is happening in the housing market. And we do testing both based on the complaints that we receive, as well as audit-based testing to try to find unreported discrimination, which is often rampant in the community. And we do testing in rentals, real estate sales, lending, insurance, all aspects of the housing market. We do a lot of counseling and advocacy for individuals, particularly around the areas of reasonable accommodations and modifications for people with disabilities, to try to keep them in their housing and make sure that they have housing that suits their needs. And when necessary, we also provide legal representation to victims of discrimination, and we file cases in state and federal court, as well as with the New York State Division of Human Rights and with HUD. And we have some interesting cases pending right now, including a case against a housing provider in DeWitt, alleging that they denied housing to households that do not speak English. We have a case that we filed with 5 other fair housing organizations across the country, alleging accessibility violations at senior properties. We have a number of source of income cases pending currently, and we we try to resolve cases sometimes, without taking these actions, but there are instances where we're not able to resolve these cases, and particularly, want to make sure people are made whole after they've experienced discrimination. We do a lot of education and outreach, upwards of 80 presentations a year, teaching people about fair housing rights and responsibilities. And then lastly, we do policy research and policy advocacy to improve housing opportunity. So we conduct fair housing assessments and housing assessments more broadly for municipalities across the state, and to try to identify barriers to access to housing. And part of our research that may be of particular interest to this group, and some of the things we've been working on right now, we've been doing a lot of work around zoning, and right now we're in working on a research project that is going to assess and score the zoning policies of every municipality in Onondaga County. So we're working with an intern at SU who's working to digitize all of the maps, zoning maps in Onondaga County, which aren't even all digitized. So we're working to do that. And then we'll be scoring every municipality on how inclusionary or exclusionary their zoning practices are. So we're looking at things like whether you can build multifamily housing in a community, whether they create policies that lead to, such as minimum lot sizes, where a lot for a home has to be a minimum size of a ½ acre or sometimes even 2 acres, depending on the location. Maximum dwelling sizes, where homes have to be built larger than a certain size. And not only does that drive up housing costs, those practices, and make housing out of reach for many households in our community, but it also increases sprawl and reduces the sustainability of our housing stock and our communities. So that is something we're working on. We hope to expect to have that analysis done this summer, and should be lots to come on that. And we'll be looking for opportunities to present that information. So if you'd love to have, would like to have us back and hear about that, we'd be happy to do so. If you'd love to have us back, we'd be happy to do so. So there's a lot of ways that we do need support. We have been growing as an organization, but we're still a nonprofit. We rely almost entirely on grant funding. which is not always consistent. So we are always looking for support. We need people to be housing testers. So we need people to sign on. If you're interested, we do have a screening process, but we do need people to be housing testers. We do pay our housing testers a stipend. We're always looking for board members as well. If you're interested, you can reach out to me about that. And we need people to support our fundraising efforts. We have our birdhouse fundraiser is our annual fundraiser. We haven't been able to have it in a couple of years, but if you're handy, we welcome contributions to our birdhouse fundraiser, or if you want to just decorate a birdhouse, then you're welcome. We'll have birdhouses. Sorry about that, my phone's not muted. We have birdhouses, we'll have birdhouses available for people to decorate as well. And then lastly, and maybe the most important way we need people to help is, we have a lot of service area, we cover a lot of areas. We don't always hear everything that's going on in every community. And so if you hear of housing proposals, if you hear of resistance to building housing, in your communities, please let us know and speak out in support of housing projects, especially in your own neighborhoods, because we need more housing. We need to increase the density of our communities, of every community in Central New York, and we need people to support those efforts when they come up in your own neighborhood, in your own backyard. So thank you all. I appreciate the opportunity, and I'll leave my contact information in the chat if anyone wants to reach us.
Thank you, Sally. We love it when people use the word sustainability, but fighting the good fight just for what's right is got to be a pretty overwhelming job to begin with. But then let's add into the mix, sustainable greenhousing. And that's another whole issue. So thank you for what you do. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good time for one question.
Go, Don.
Sally, terrific work. I saw the map, which extended all the way from Ithaca to Albany. That's the territory that you folks are covering?
We are right now, yes. We had some funding from New York State Attorney General's office the last 2 years that allowed us to expand our service area. That funding ends at the end of this year. I'm not sure if we'll continue to serve the counties around the Albany area. There is no other fair housing organization serving the Albany region. So we're the only organization between Rochester and Westchester. So there's a huge need. We've been doing some investigations there, and we're finding rampant discrimination in the capital region, but there isn't anyone else providing those services. So we've been picking up some of that. But we do a lot of work in Binghamton, Ithaca, St. Lawrence County, Jefferson County, Oswego County. We have contracts with Rome, Auburn. We do a pretty wide area, which is fortunately easier to do now that many of our services are remote. I don't have to drive to all these places quite as often, which is nice and more sustainable. But a welcome change.
That's terrific. And of course, you have a staff of 100.
12. We have 12 staff members providing all of these services. 2 attorneys, 2 outreach staff, 3 investigators, and a little bit of administrative support.
Great.
So Sally, I hope you noticed in the chat box, Greg Michael would like to connect with you. So you should take him up on that offer. There may be some trees in your housing future. Next up, we have Lindsay Spear, Director of Community Programs with HeatSmart CNY. Lindsay, unmute yourself, please.
Hi, everyone. It's so great to see everyone here. Hopefully next year we can do this in person again. I'm Lindsay Spear. I'm the Director of Community Programs for Alliance for Green Economy, and I work with Central New York Regional Planning and Development Board on the HeatSmart CNY campaign. We are in our 4th year. We're coming to the end of the 4th year of our program. And it's been quite the ride. We've been focused on how do we help, buildings of many different sizes in Central New York, from residences to commercial buildings, beneficially electrify their buildings. How do we improve the insulation? How do we get people to switch to heat pumps? We've provided a variety of workshops, of open houses and tours of buildings that are heated and cooled with heat pumps. This is part of how we reduce the contribution of our buildings to climate change. We've been working on the ground. 30% of buildings in New York State, or 30% of the greenhouse gas emissions in New York State come from our building stock. And so this is a critical piece to actually meeting the goals of the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act and reducing our contributions to climate change. Over the past 4 years, we've I did not update this slide, apparently. Okay. I thought I updated the slide. We are actually over 1,500 participants at this point, over 150 events. We are at 185 homes under contract. 169 of them have actually had heat pumps or better insulation installed. And I'm really pleased that in the past year, through a variety of really great pilot programs from NYSERDA, as well as from some of the local utilities, and now through the HEAP program, we have been able to finally crack the code on helping low to moderate income households. And so at this point, close to half of our households that we've installed projects in have been low to moderate income households. The equity issue is absolutely key. So many of our buildings in Central New York are very, very old, and a lot of them have deferred maintenance. A lot of them have not seen the investments in upgrading them that they've needed desperately. And so we've been really pleased to be able to help people not only improve the insulation, help people, put together a heating system that actually heats the whole building. One of our participants down in Cortland had a house, a rambling old farmhouse that was heated by a combination of fuel oil in one area, a pellet stove in another area that had broken, and resistance electric. And we were able to get in a whole system of cold climate air source heat pumps. And they said that it was the first time that they've ever had every single room in their building actually be warm and efficiently warm. We've had stories like that across the board. For a lot of these low-income households, we've been able to install heat pumps at no cost to them through these programs. But it's taken a lot to stack those programs together, and more needs to be done. There's still an issue of knob and tube wiring and panel upgrades needed in some of these houses. There's issues of mold, there's issues of asbestos, and so we're really pleased to see that there's starting to be more funding for those issues to be addressed. Our climate impact at this point is over 2,500 tons of carbon dioxide emissions decreased every single year from the households that we have been able to help. And we are one of the, I think we are one of the 3 largest campaigns in terms of our effect in the state. We're one of 19 across the state. So thank you to everyone who's been part of this. There many of you have actually participated in Heat Smart CNY and actually made changes to your homes. If you have not already done so, we encourage you to enroll soon. We are actually in the process of winding down for a period of time. We will be, there will be something coming next. But we're going to be taking a few months to retool and replan because we've done great work, but we need to be bigger. We need to be doing far, far more homes in order to meet the climate goals. And we'll need all of your help to do that. So if you haven't been on our mailing list, please join. I will put our website in the chat. We will be sending out announcements about what comes next. And our enrollment deadline at this point is May 15th. So if you are interested in exploring your options for renewable heating and cooling, please sign up. And we are trying to get as many contracts signed by June 15th as possible because I at some point need to do all the reporting necessary to report back to NYSERDA our success. So thank you all for being part of this. Diane, do you have the second slide?
Do I have a second slide?
No, you gave us last year's slides. That's what happened. That's all right.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. And I had a great slide showing our impact in the various installations that we have made, showing the climate impact over time. I will be happy to send that to people, so feel free to drop me an email. I will put this information in the chat. And thanks, everyone. If you have questions, feel free to reach out.
Thank you for taking on that huge task of retrofitting existing building stock, which is pretty overwhelming task. So thanks.
If I can jump in real quick, just please follow us on Facebook as well. We've got some events coming up you can find on our website. We're working with communities like the town of Pompey to do really local campaigns and getting partnerships with towns. So you've got some time still to get on the campaign before we kind of go into our new phase. Thanks.
And we are going to continue to accept new enrollments from those communities that have been part of the the Clean Energy Community Program. Sorry, there's too many C programs for communities. And so currently that's the Town and Village of Hamilton, Town and Village of Casanova, Town of Pompey, and Town of Owasco. And we've just wrapped up our campaign with the Town of Manlius. So thanks, everyone. And we also have a Facebook group, which will continue. So feel free to come and chat about building electrification on that. You can find it off of our Facebook page.
All right, thanks again. Next up, we have Don Hughes. Let's hear about what's going on at the Sierra Club these days.
Hey, folks. Let me turn on my camera so you can see me also. And thanks for the slide, Diane. I didn't have time. I have made what seems like a million PowerPoints because I'm teaching. I teach at Lemoyne College, and I'm teaching about climate change right now. And man, is it depressing. But we're doing things. So let me tell you a little bit about Sierra Club. Of course, as everyone knows, Sierra Club is one of the big national environmental organizations. They have over 500,000 members countrywide. I think in New York State, which is the Atlantic chapter, is something like 40,000 members. And I'm a conservation chair for the group. So Sierra Club is a very structured organization. Sometimes it drives us a little bit batty. The local group used to be the Iroquois group, and now we're called the Central and Northern New York group, a name that I'm not taking responsibility for. Anyway, it's great to see so many familiar faces and groups that we work with. We work closely with Agree, the Citizens Campaign, for Citizens Climate and Awareness. Anyway, you know the folks, CCAA. So what have we been working on? One big issue is electrification of buses. Been focused on school buses of late, and coming up very soon is votes on every school district has to pass a budget. Those happen on May 17th, and we'll be showing up at the FM, Fayetteville Manlius. They're proposing to buy 6 new diesel buses. And given the fact that the governor has come out with a mandate to switch to electric and all the other good reasons to go electric, we're going to encourage them to do that. I'd invite everyone to come to the school board meeting this coming Monday the 9th at 6 p.m. to talk in favor of electric and not diesel. It's terrible health effects from burning diesel fuel as well. We've also, last year we had some meetings with Centro about electrification. They're interested. I'm trying to get that conversation rejuvenated. What else? Energy Symposium organized by Ria Jazer. A lot of you were there. Barry Carr was a speaker. I don't know if Barry is still on, but terrific talk about electric buses. Our group sponsored 12 students to attend that meeting. And I personally brought a couple of students from Lemoyne. She has a whole contingent of folks that come up from Kentucky. I was disappointed to find out that they flew here. What else? The recent hearing, and many of you were there for the Climate Action Council hearing that took place April 26. I gave testimony there. There was a lot of you were there. So a lot of climate related action by Sierra Club. We've been keeping tabs on local development proposals that are fortunately haven't come to fruition. There's the White Pine Commerce Park that Onondaga County has been proposing up in Clay. It's got hundreds of acres of wetlands. That has not happened. And a bunch of other things. We're involved in political endorsements. So Senator May, who was on earlier, of course, has received our endorsement. Al Sturpey, Pam Hunter, John Mannion, can name some others. And this is all part of a statewide effort. Speaking of planting trees, we are going to be planting some trees in the Syracuse City Park to honor some of our members and activists who have unfortunately passed on. Linda DeStefano, who was tragically killed in a car, weird car accident, Jack Ramsden, and Rich Slingerland. I can't give you a date because we don't have a date yet, but that is happening. Finally, I want to mention that we are engaged in lobbying. We have 3 staffers. This is, I'm talking statewide now. The Atlantic Chapter is the name of the New York State level. And we have an office in Albany with 3 staff members. And I just want to mention one important victory, which is a wetlands bill. So April 8th, there was a whole coalition of groups, including the Sierra Club and especially Audubon. So this bill called Save New York State Wetlands, or rather, that's the name of the coalition. The name of the bill is the New York State Freshwater Wetlands Act. And it's going to allow the DEC to protect over 1 million acres of critically important freshwater wetlands that are currently not mapped. And there's tens of thousands of small wetlands that are of unusual importance that will be included this as well. This has been a long time goal of Roger Downs, as our chief cook and bottle washer in Albany, to protect these wetlands, which because they were not on New York State maps, have not been protected. So finally, it got across the finish line. It has been signed, passed in both houses and signed into law just a month ago. And we are working on many other many other things at the state level. If I can just bring that up. Just a moment here. Yeah, here we are. So lots of bills that we are lobbying on. That All Electric Buildings Act that Lindsay mentioned is one of them, or maybe it was Andra that mentioned it. We have, if you go to the website of the Atlantic chapter, go to Sierra Club, I'll put it in the chat here, and you can see all the legislative stuff that we're working on. And we did have a victory that was including environmental justice and SECRA reviews. That has passed both the Assembly and the Senate recently. So I will not take up any more of your time here. If you got any questions, I'm eager to hear them.
Thanks, Don. It's great to get an update from the Sierra Club. And, you know, on a personal note, long ago, I was the U.S. Green Building Council Green Schools Chair. So good to hear about the bus initiative, because I know one of our concerns with buses at schools is that they sit and they idle and they spew, and the air intakes at the school evenly distribute all of that across the school as they pick it up from the buses. So, you know, not only greenhouse gases, but now we're talking about human health issues. So that's great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just for your information, diesel exhaust is listed as a probable human carcinogen.
Right. Oh, yes. Well, good work. Thank you. Next, we have Frank Moses, Executive Director with Skaneateles Lake Association.
Hi, good morning. Diane, did you receive my slide I sent you?
I did.
Perfect. There it is. Thank you. Thanks, John and Diane and all the Greening USA team. Great to see some familiar faces. I got my son Oliver with me. He's bound for a nap soon, so I will keep it brief for many reasons. We're also at 10:01 right now, so I'll stick to my time. And I see folks are kind of peeling off a bit, but I'll be brief. But thanks again for the opportunity. This is you know, a really nice chance to engage folks around Skaneateles Lake. And I'm sure most folks know that Skaneateles Lake is the major drinking water source for the city of Syracuse and surrounding communities, along with the village of Skaneateles and I believe Jordan Elbridge, Salina, list goes on, areas in Geddes, DeWitt. And I just wanted to highlight for folks who aren't familiar with some of the threats that are plaguing our lake and growing and surmounting, getting quicker than we can handle, it seems like. The first one that we're battling, and it's by no means a Skaneateles Lake Association the only ones tackling this. We've got wonderful partners like the city of Syracuse that has jurisdiction over the whole watershed to maintain a filtration avoidance waiver presented to them by the Department of Health, New York State Public Health. And also Soil and Water Conservation District, all the municipalities, the 3 counties that we live within. So you can imagine how many folks it's a challenge to get to the table and to coordinate and to work together on. And I think that really plays into what Senator May was mentioning, that the frustration with government is that we need to get out of our silos, we need to work together more, but also to take a leap of faith more with our citizens and have more public-private capacity, because that really is a big capacity builder. I will load into the chat a wonderful memo that was put out by the Environmental Protection Agency back on April 5th related to working closer with the USDA and more community stakeholders and folks throughout the government related to nutrient reduction. And that really is the biggest threat right now is the excessive nutrient loading into our lakes that's feeding these harmful algal blooms. And all of these threats I've got here on this slide are very much related to that. You know, I'll just touch base on what we're doing with invasive species that are coming in through boats at the boat launches, and also you know, existing in the lake, and then also on the land. So one of the programs we're doing is helping control the growth of Eurasian water milfoil, and it's a chemical-free process. It's very onerous, very expensive. It costs us about $150,000 a year. We do receive some support from FLOPA, which is the Finger Lakes Lake Ontario Watershed Protection Alliance, and that's funded through the Environmental Protection Fund. And did I just lose everybody? Did they just drop off?
Still here.
Yep. Oh, okay, great. My son just hit a button and I can't find my Zoom again, but I'm here. Great. So anyways, the Environmental Protection Fund, and so any work to keep that fund robust like it is at $400 million is very helpful. And it also comes from a lot of our memberships throughout the lake. The other thing is our steward program, keeping new invasives out of the lake as well. We're really concerned about hydrilla. Hydrilla is over at Cayuga Lake, 2 lakes over, which is probably when boats come to the from other lakes to Skaneateles Lake. Cayuga is like the second most popular lake that boats come from. So that's a concern there. And so what's, you know, if hydrilla has to be, you know, reduced chemically or in different ways as that dies off, either chemically or seasonally, it can add nutrients back into the system as well. The other piece I have is related to just the land management, whether it's just empowering homeowners on how to make better choices. And I'll, if I can find back where the GoToMeeting app is, I will load up into the chat box. And so there's, you know, this is an example of someone who cut down trees at the top of a cliff for a better view shed, and then the cliff bank failed, adding more nutrients in the lake. So empowering our community to help reduce those nutrients into the lake. And I didn't mention the harmful algal blooms. What's the threat there? They're known to have microcystin and can produce that. Greg Boyer from the SUNY College of Environmental Science and Forestry is a phenomenal expert understanding algal blooms and also the toxicity concerns. Microcystin is a known liver toxin, and I'm running shy on time. But the other thing is climate change. And so this is just an example of some photos of the high turbidity that comes through the streams that loads in and then can feed these algal blooms. And if we're having more intense rain events with clouds holding more moisture and having 3 inches of rain per hour, that's something that's kind of becoming a new norm that we're trying to figure out the best solutions moving forward, applying for different grants to reduce nutrients. So getting some Onondaga Earth Corps folks out to plant trees around these riparian buffers would be awesome, and to connect our youth that are part of the city of Syracuse to their water, that to take care of that is extremely important. Getting ESF students and our different SU students in Lemoyne and folks that are involved with the, you know, engaged in drinking the water, being engaged with protecting the water would be great too. So I will add a few things in the chat box, which includes the EPA memo, includes my email, our upcoming workshop series we're doing with all the Finger Lakes on watershed resiliency, and also I believe our website to Skaneateles Lake Association. Thanks everyone again for all your time. Everyone's doing such a great job for the environment. I miss being connected physically around downtown Syracuse to all these wonderful groups around the area, but this is a great opportunity to keep us together and to stay stronger together with the theme here, but let's stay together too, and not, you know, stay out of our silos and keep connected, because we really have a lot of work to do together and more solidarity and strength. So thanks again.
Thank you, Frank. And absolutely. Where would we be without water? So yes,
Absolutely.
a vital resource. I apologize to everyone for running over, but I thank those stalwart survivors who are still with us. I believe this is our last one. Climate change awareness and action. Yvonne, would you like to unmute?
Sure. Hey, everybody. I promise I will make this short so that everybody can go about their day. My name is Yvonne Chu. I'm the president of Climate Change Awareness and Action. We are an all-volunteer organization focused on educating people about climate change and what they can do about it. We have our focus is on awareness, which can be in the form of, a film showing like we did at the Palace Theater a few years ago with the Sea Change, where we were able to fill the theater with folks and so that they can learn about this wonderful film called The Sea Change, which I encourage folks to watch if they haven't already. But we also do other things such as put out a monthly newsletter. One that just came out the other day is on our website. And if you're on our mailing list, you would have gotten it to your email. Has a ton of really awesome information. And I highly encourage folks who are in this room and some folks who have already left this room to be able to submit some ideas to us to put into our newsletter. If you are able to write something and you'd like for us to put it in our newsletter, it goes out to about 1,700 people, and we're adding folks to our list every single day. We've gotten a lot of great feedback just on the quality of the articles that have been put out recently. One of which is what Don Hughes mentioned earlier about the vote for the school budget happening on May 17th, which I do encourage folks, if you have a school budget vote happening on that date, to go ahead and go and look at what's on the budget, talk to the folks, and try to catch people at the school board meetings and talk to them about having their electric buses, be on a vote for the upcoming year in future years. Things like this makes a big difference, even if it's a smaller local thing, because if we're able to do it across the state, across the nation, makes a gigantic difference in transportation and the quality of the environment. I also want to mention, in terms of other actions aside from voting, we're encouraging folks to submit comments regarding the draft scoping plan, which is being put together in order to support the CLCPA law that was passed the other year, and really want people to submit your comments. There is, I think, a virtual hearing coming up this Saturday, and I think a couple more hearings in the next month or so. So really, if you haven't already made your opinion heard, please submit a comment. You can do it online. I will try to find the link to that and send it out, but I think quite a few of you guys are aware of it already. But these are just some small things. Other stuff, we do public speaking events, we do tabling events. We also do personal speaking. I think it's really important, on a day-to-day basis, to emphasize how important climate change is in our life and what it's doing. So even in small conversations on a daily basis, you can have that conversation with friends, family, people that you meet on the street. And I know Pete Worth is a great example of somebody who does that every single day and has been able to help folks make changes in their lives to make a difference in their carbon footprint and reduce their overall use of fossil fuels in their life. On our website, you could sign up to do a carbon challenge that can help you go through the process of reducing your carbon footprint in general. And if you haven't signed up for that, that's something that we also encourage you to do. I put our website and email in the chat box. And I hope that folks in this room and consider joining CCAA, whether it's working with us or collaborating with us, because we've found a lot of very fruitful projects from collaboration with other people. And yeah, hope to continue to push for a better, greener, healthier, more environmentally just world, and look forward to working with you guys in the future. And thank you, Diane and Greening USA, for giving us this time and space.
Thanks, Yvonne. And yes, climate change is the biggest elephant in the room. And as I have frequently told Pete, that many of the sustainability issues that we advocate for will help to mitigate climate change, even though we don't use those words. So it's kind of stealth mitigation. So thank you for what you do. And just signing off now, since we're running so late. I just wanted to end with some inspiration for us to continue doing what we do. And the inspiration is our children, quite honestly. And this inspiration comes from a local source, Orrin Lyons, Onondaga Nation of the Haudenosaunee, and he says that all things are bound together. All things connect. Whatever befalls the earth befalls also the children of the earth. So let's just keep doing this for the children. And thank you all for joining us.